Second warning. Third warning.
Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another marvelous video. This one's for all the Stephen King fans out there because today we're going to be looking into one of his upcoming adaptations. This one's kind of special. He started writing it when he was just a teenager and it was his first ever novel. Now, nearly 60 years later, it's finally coming to the big screen. If you guys haven't guessed already, we're talking about The Long Walk, so sit back and enjoy as we dive on in. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves though, we do have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to the channel. It's a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Left. Who's ready to win?
Release date. When is The Long Walk happening? This project started out as a book that King didn't even put his real name on. Back in 1979, long before Pennywise haunted sewers or a certain haunted hotel left us all sleeping with the lights on, Stephen King released a brutal little novel under the alias Richard Bachman. It was called The Long Walk, and for years, King himself believed it was too bleak, too merciless to ever work on screen. Honestly, he might have been right, at least until now. After spending decades in and out of development, The Long Walk is finally happening. Lionsgate has set the theatrical release for September 12th, 2025, so mark your calendars, guys. While no streaming platform has officially confirmed just yet, this one is getting the full big screen treatment first, which makes sense, right? Considering the names attached to it. Francis Lawrence is directing this adaptation, and if there's anyone who knows how to build tension in a dystopian world, it's him. Many have come and gone over the years, but it's under his direction that the film has finally picked up real momentum. And with Lionsgate behind it, The Long Walk looks more real than ever. A fall release date perfectly lines it up just as horror season kicks off, going up against a couple of lighter films that aren't likely to steal the same audience. For a story about endurance, it's kind of fitting that the film adaptation had to survive a long journey of its own to get here. The premise. What is The Long Walk? The story's premise is deceptively straightforward. Just keep walking. In a dystopian version of America ruled by a totalitarian regime, 100 teenage boys are forced to take part in an annual event known simply as The Long Walk. There are no breaks, there is no finish line, and there's no room for failure. Each participant must maintain a pace of at least 4 miles per hour, and if they drop below that speed for more than 30 seconds, they receive a warning. After 3 warnings, there's no more negotiating, they're shot on the spot. The story follows Ray Garrity, a 16-year-old from Maine who's chosen as one of this year's walkers. The route follows US Route 1, stretching endlessly through rural towns and silent spectators who come out to cheer them on as if it were a national holiday. At first, it feels like a test of endurance, but the farther they walk, the more the boys begin to unravel. What begins as a contest quickly turns into a slow descent into madness, one that strips away any illusion of choice or control. The prize is anything the winner wants for the rest of their life, but as the hours pass and the bodies start to fall, that promise starts to feel less like a reward and more like a cruel joke. Technically, the walk is supposed to last somewhere between 24 to 48 hours, though that all depends on who's walking and how long they can stay on their feet. But the truth is, this isn't really about distance or time. At its core, The Long Walk is about pressure, the kind that crushes from the inside out. It's a story about endurance, not just of the body, but of the mind. These boys aren't athletes, they're not soldiers. In this world, they're treated as a spectacle. What makes it even more disturbing is that the walk is televised. It's a national event that people tune into like it's just another broadcast. This detail turns the whole thing into a brutal commentary on society's obsession with watching people push to their limits. And in an age where social media has turned suffering into content and reality into entertainment, the story feels less like a warning from the past and more like a mirror we've been trying not to look into. Cast details. After spending years in development, the cast is starting to take shape. Leading the film is Cooper Hoffman, who's known for Licorice Pizza and is now stepping into the role of Raymond Garrity, the story's central character. Joining him is David Johnson, known for his role in Alien Romulus, who's been cast as Peter McVries, one of the more complex and emotionally grounded boys in The Walk. The cast has expanded quickly, with several rising talents joining the lineup. Garrett Waring has signed on to play Stebbins, a mysterious figure who keeps to himself but seems to know more than he lets on. Charlie Plummer is stepping in as Gary Barkovich, Ben Wang has been cast as Henry Olsen, and Roman Griffin Davis will portray Arthur Baker. Joining them is Jordan Gonzalez, Tut Nyott, and Joshua Odjick, whose roles haven't been revealed just yet, but all signs point to them filling out the rest of the walkers, each with their own stories, motives, and breaking points. And while the story is about the boys, 2 familiar faces are cast in pivotal adult roles. Mark Hamill is set to portray the cold and commanding figure known only as the Major, the man overseeing the walk. Judy Greer has also joined the film as Mrs. Garrity, bringing some emotional weight to Raymond's home life before the walk begins. The trailer. Lionsgate has finally dropped the first official trailer for The Long Walk, and if there was any doubt about how dark this adaptation might get, it's now gone. The trailer wastes no time setting the tone. We see the boys, Raymond Garrity, Peter McVrise, and Hank Olson, walking alongside a convoy of tanks, the Major leading the way. At first, there's a strange sense of optimism. The boys start with energy, maybe even hope, like they still believe they have a shot, but that illusion doesn't last long. It only takes one moment to change everything. When one of them collapses, there's no mercy. He's executed without hesitation, and just like that, the rules are no longer just theoretical. The Major lays it out with chilling clarity. There's only one winner and no finish line. While the teaser gives us glimpses of the broader ensemble, it's clear that the narrative is focused around Garrity, McVrise, and Olson. This also confirms an early and brutal death for one of the characters, played by Jojo Rabbit's Roman Griffin Davis, showing just how quickly things can fall apart. Director Francis Lawrence is clearly working in familiar territory here, but this feels different. It gives us a better look at Mark Hamill's take on the Major, a figure who radiates authority. Here, he feels cold, commanding, and terrifyingly in control. If what we've seen is anything to go by, The Long Walk is not just another King adaptation, it's aiming to be one of the most harrowing. A long road to adaptation. For a story that feels tailor-made for the screen, The Long Walk has had a surprisingly rough journey getting there. Stephen King's novels have been a goldmine for filmmakers since the late 70s, but somehow this one kept slipping through the cracks, even when some of horror's biggest names tried to take it on. Back in 1988, Dawn of the Dead director George A. Romero was the first to step up. It looked promising, but the project never gained real traction. Years later, Frank Darabont, who had already delivered 3 critically acclaimed King adaptations with The Green Mile, The Mist, and The Shawshank Redemption, took a swing at it as well. And still, the adaptation just wouldn't come together. Most recently, Norwegian filmmaker Andre Øvredal, known for The Last Voyage of the Demeter and The Autopsy of Jane Doe, was attached. There was real hope that the project might finally move forward until he quietly exited in mid-2023. After all those false starts, it's Francis Lawrence who seems to have finally broken the cycle. It's easy to compare The Long Walk to The Hunger Games. Both stories revolve around young people thrust into deadly competitions with a prize promised to the last one standing, but the similarities end there. Where The Hunger Games is about direct conflict, alliances, betrayals, and intentional killing, The Long Walk plays out on a far more psychological level. No one is trying to eliminate each other. Instead, it's the clock, the pace, and their own breaking bodies they're up against. And as brutal as it gets, the competition doesn't always bring out the worst in them. Sometimes the boys support each other. They talk, they bond, they even help each other keep moving when things get hard. That tension is what gives the story its weight. For Lawrence, it's that emotional complexity and the quiet horror of the walk makes this story more harrowing than anything he's tackled before. The inspiration behind the story. Stephen King began writing The Long Walk while he was still in high school, during a time when the world around him felt like it was unraveling. The Vietnam War was escalating rapidly, and with each passing year, the number of young American soldiers dying overseas was climbing into the thousands. It was impossible to ignore. The fear, the frustration, and the sense of helplessness in the air, and that atmosphere found its way into the pages he was writing. Though King didn't set out to write a political statement, the parallels are hard to miss. In the story, a cold, nameless military figure sends a line of healthy teenage boys to their deaths, all for the sake of spectacle. It's packaged as a national event, but beneath the surface, it reflects something far more painful: the real-life loss of young lives, sanctioned by those in power and watched by those too numb or powerless to stop it. Looking back, it makes sense. King was young, disillusioned, and trying to make sense of a world that didn't seem to care who paid the price for control. That bleak honesty is part of what gives The Long Walk its power. It's not just fiction, it's frustration, fear, and quiet rage filtered through a dystopian lens. Will there be any changes? Stephen King adaptations often evolve a bit when they make the leap to the big screen. We saw it happen with It, which moved its setting forward in time and still managed to deliver a powerful version of the original. With The Long Walk, the changes are more subtle, but they are there. The novel was published in the late 1970s and set in a vague dystopian future, but early set photos from the film suggest the movie might be leaning into the era in which it was written. Vintage military vehicles and cars that look straight out of the 70s hint at a retro-futuristic aesthetic, a version of the future imagined from the past. It's an interesting approach, and if done right, could give the story an eerie timelessness rather than locking it into a specific date. That said, the futuristic elements of the book, the oppressive regime, the government's obsession with control, and the mechanized brutality of the walk are essential to the story's DNA. Based on what the filmmakers have said so far, there's no reason to think that any of that is being left behind. Screenwriter J.T. Molnar, who came aboard with a clear vision, confirmed that filming officially kicked off in July 2024. Speaking about the project later that summer, he emphasized that both he and director Francis Lawrence were committed to doing this one right. That meant staying faithful to the novel and embracing the darker tone for an R-rated experience, something Stephen King himself was reportedly adamant about. If they can balance the brutal simplicity of the plot with all the layered themes underneath, this could end up being one of the most faithful and emotionally devastating King adaptations yet. Lawrence shot this film chronologically so the actors could slowly understand the sense of doom that the story has. He added that one of the cast members noticed that in the film, the characters walk around 336 miles in a span of 4 or 5 days, and while they were filming, apparently they walked close to 350 miles. Without giving any spoilers, we'll say just this. Those of you who have read the book know how the story ends, and with all we've heard, it seems like the adaptation might also stick to that. Marvelous verdict. Well, with that, we've come to the end of our video, and now we want to hear from you. What do you think of this premise? How do you think the audience will receive it? Which moment from the book are you most curious to see play out on screen? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section down below, and if you enjoyed watching, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more stuff like this. As always, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.